So good afternoon and welcome to TaxAssist and the latest in our series of webinars covering topical and relevant events and issues for small businesses. And today we're going to be talking about the benefits of online accounting. So I'll start with just some quick introductions and some background. So TaxAssist, for those of you that aren't familiar with us, are a network of accountants across the UK with 370-something sites and about 78,000 mostly small business clients. And our role here in the support centre is to help our network and help support our clients and prospective clients with some of the challenges they're facing at the moment. And obviously we're in fairly exceptional times. But today we want to talk about online accounting as something we think is particularly topical and relevant. So some introductions. My name is Darren Moore and I'm Group Commercial Director looking after the group and the network.
And I'm James Clarkson. I'm Senior Software Accountant within the Support Centre, and I provide software support and training to franchisees and their staff, and worked in practice for 9 years before joining TaxAssist, working with a variety of clients, different sectors, different sizes. So seen all sorts of ways this has been done before.
So James and I are going to spend around the next half hour talking through our content. We are going to be recording this webinar, so it will be available on our website for those of you that want to watch it again at a later date. And we will be taking questions at the end. So if you use the chat facility, we'll try and get back to any questions you may have. And it's always nice to get some questions just to bring the topic to life. So please do put those on there if you want to. So what are we going to be covering? Well, we're covering online accounting generally, but we'll look at a few different things. So we're going to start with just an overview of what's happening at the moment. For a lot of business in particular, that traditional approach to bookkeeping and accounting for businesses. And James and I are both accountants by background, so we've seen this for many, many years between us in practice. We can then talk about how that's changing and what cloud accounting is, what it does and how it works, and probably most importantly, what it can do to help you in your business and in your lives understand what's happening. So we'll explain some of those benefits as we see them, and then we'll talk about, okay, if you are interested in cloud accounting, if it's not something you're looking at the moment, how can you get started? How can you incorporate it into your business? And it's actually quite a simple thing to do, but we'll be talking about how that works and how you can talk to TaxAssist and how we can support you in that journey. So that's the coverage, but we're going to start with what happens now. So we'll call this traditional approaches to bookkeeping, and this won't be relevant for all of you. Some of you may well have moved on to the cloud, some of you may have gone through this journey already, but for a lot of businesses out there, they're taking what we consider to be quite a traditional, and in some cases quite a simple approach, because that's been the accepted way of doing things for a long, long time. So the first classic approach that we've seen in our roles as accountants is simply doing nothing. And what do we mean by that? You run a bank account, you collect records along the way, you run your business day to day, and you then produce probably a bag of records for your accountant at the end of the year. Now, James and I have both been in the fortunate situation or unfortunate situation where we've seen big bags of information coming in and we've tried to pull that together into accounts, and that's always done after the event. So it's quite retrospective. What it doesn't do really is give you any current information on what your business is doing. So that business performance that's really important to understand, particularly at the moment, is lost because it's all done after the event and there's no structure around it. So it's a challenge for business owners because it doesn't tell them where they are. It tells them at best where they've been. It's also not likely to be compliant going forwards. And we've got on the slide something called Making Tax Digital, which some of you may be familiar with, some not. So Making Tax Digital is HMRC, so UK tax authorities moving into a digital world. And this is an agenda that all of the tax authorities across the globe are looking at. And it's about using data in different ways and automating and populating people's tax accounts and tax affairs in different ways. So there are requirements already on VAT registered businesses to be compliant with Making Tax Digital. And over the next few years, we'll start to see that impact everyone out there. So every business and every individual with tax reporting requirements will be affected by this over time. So it's a big issue for businesses really in terms of how to be compliant. And the reality is simply doing nothing will not be compliant. Businesses will need to do something. So weaknesses of this approach, no oversight of business performance, not compliant longer term, difficult to understand the business performance and difficult to get advice around the business really, because you don't know where you are. So decision making is harder because you haven't got that up-to-date information. You can't plan effectively, and you can't review performance against those plans. So this is a common reality for many, but does have significant flaws. So that's the first traditional approach. Some businesses will have moved into a spreadsheet basis, and spreadsheets have been around for a long time, Excel, etc., etc. And there are lots of people out there using Excel in some very creative ways. Now that can work for some. It can be quite time consuming because Excel isn't really designed for that purpose. It can be prone to user error. We've all been in situations where we've deleted cells by mistake or got formulas wrong, and it gives you erroneous information, very frustrating. And it takes time to export and translate that data into meaningful reports to help you. So there are limits around Excel spreadsheets in lots of different ways, and they won't be compliant for digital and making tax digital in the future. There's some transitional arrangements so they are now, but HMRC have already advised that that won't be the case for years to come. So again, businesses relying on spreadsheets will need to do something. And some businesses will have moved on to the next stage, which is, yes, they're using accounting software, but it's desktop-based as opposed to cloud-based. And that does a lot more than either nothing or a spreadsheet, clearly, and there are lots of established desktop providers out there, but there are limitations. The biggest one is probably access. As we'll come on to, cloud-based accounting principles are fantastic in lots of ways, but they're great from an access point of view because you can access wherever you may be. They can also be quite expensive desktop solutions. They're not really scaled down to small businesses in all cases, so they can have big upfront costs. There can be some big annual license payments to make, and there are some restrictions around using them. Data entry can be time consuming, and the software is always only as good as the latest update, and they're not always up to date. So those three approaches probably still represent, I'd say, the bulk of small businesses. James and I, as I say, have worked with small business for a long time. We've supported clients with those sorts of solutions, but we recognise the limitations and the need to change. So that's just setting the scene, really. What we'd like to get onto today is the next phase. So what can you do differently? What does the future look like? How can you be compliant? How can you help report on your business and understand your business in different ways? So this is really about online accounting. So I'm going to pass over to James, who's going to give you an outline of online accounting, what it does and how it works.
Thanks, Darren. Yeah, so online accounting in this form, of course, we're not talking about your year-end accounts that you need to do, but your day-to-day bookkeeping and keeping that up to date so you get the information that you need to make effective business decisions when you need it. So it first came about in the late 90s, but at that stage it was very much reserved for bigger businesses, very large businesses. It wasn't until about 2009, 2010 that more providers started moving into the online accounting space, and those new providers started to target the smaller businesses. And since then, the product has come on leaps and bounds to what it is today. So online accounting essentially uses cloud accounting software. That's software hosted up in the cloud, and your data is stored up in the cloud with it. And because it's hosted up in the cloud, that generally means you can access it from anywhere on any device, tablet, mobile phone, laptop, whatever you need. But despite that, it is still secure. When you try to log in from a new location, a code will be sent through to your phone, and you'll have to put that code into the software to be able to gain access. So people without your phone wouldn't be able to access it. So that's very briefly what it is. And we're going to start running through some of the benefits of online accounting. So as we go through this, we're going to come on to some of the sort of more technical features over the next few slides, but there are a few key points that we do want to highlight. So traditionally, accounting and bookkeeping software was always aimed at accountants, but cloud accounting software is very different, and it is built with business owners in mind. And because of that, it makes it far easier to use. That's not to say it doesn't get complicated at times, but it's only as complicated as you want to make it. You don't have to make use of every feature in there. So it is whatever you make of it. Because it's aimed at business owners, it uses more friendly terminology, so it loses some of the accounting language that we used to see in the traditional software. And some of the packages do even change the language used depending on whether you are an accountant or a business owner, to make it easier for you to use. And what it allows us to do is it allows you to keep up to date with your bookkeeping. There's several things that get efficiencies there for you, making it easier for you to keep up to date. So you have real-time information, real-time overview of your finances. using up-to-date information that you can access whenever you want to. And there is a lot of support out there if you're looking to make the change, or if you've already started using it but are not sure where else to go with it. Main one would be your accountant. They can support you in setting up the software, they can give you some initial training, and they can show you how you can use it most efficiently in your business. So getting on to some of the more, say, technical features. Firstly, I'd like to talk to you a bit about automation and apps. Now, starting with automation, anywhere we can introduce automation into historically manual processes, it's going to save us time and it's going to reduce the number of tasks we need to do on a day-to-day basis. And this all means that as a result of the automation, we have less data entry, so less time spent to input data. Now, I know a lot of small business owners who try to keep up to date with their bookkeeping. They're going to be doing this work in their evenings, on their weekends. So the more you can automate the process, the more of your own time you save. And so we've listed a few key points on the slides there, the first of which being bank feeds. Now, what is a bank feed? You can connect the online accounting software to your bank account. And what that does is every day, the accounting software will pull all the new transactions through from your bank account into the software. And it will then be shown in a list on one page within the software, where you can just go to that page, review the transactions, and allocate them to specific accounts or match them to invoices. Where it starts to get a bit cleverer is if you have a transaction listed there for a builder and you analyse that as being repairs and maintenance. Next time that transaction comes through the bank feed, the software is going to say, you allocated this to repairs and maintenance before. I'd suggest you do the same again, which means, again, you don't need to spend the time finding the right account for it. You can just confirm that that's fine. You can take that one step further and then set up bank rules for some of these transactions. So what a bank rule does is you essentially tell the software, every time you see a transaction to do with this supplier, I want you to do this with it. I want you to post it to a certain place, to record it somewhere. And once you've set those rules up, you can set it up so that the software automatically does that for you, and you won't even see that transaction come through on the bank feed, so you won't even need to review it. Good example of this would be lease or hire purchase payments for a vehicle, regular monthly amounts. You'd set up your rule just to put it to your car hire payment, say. We've also got on there recurring invoices. So yes, we can raise our sales invoices directly within the software. We can email them to our clients through the software. Great time saving there as well from having to produce them manually. And if we invoice our customers the same amount each month, we can set it up so that invoice is automatically generated and automatically sent to our customer every month. So we don't have to do anything at all, and we know that they're going to have their invoice. So great where you're invoicing regular amounts, such as, I don't know, landlord, say, where you invoice rent regularly, same amount every month, same time every month. You can also record recurring purchase invoices. So again, if you do rent some space, you'll receive invoice from your landlord. You can set that up to be a recurring invoice every month, saving you having to enter it each month. Linked to the invoicing is the automatic chasing of unpaid invoices. So because we're raising invoices within the accounting software, we can tell the software that if our customer has not paid us by the due date or a week before the due date, we want to send them a reminder that that invoice is outstanding. And the software can do that automatically for us, effectively becoming part of our credit control solution then, helping us to get paid without us needing to put the time into it. You do get some extra apps that will enhance that and make it far more customized experience. And that does bring us on to the next point, really, the add-on applications. So everyone's heard of apps. Everyone has apps on their phone, and very much like a phone, the accounting packages give you some core functionality. So they give you enough core functionality, probably for the majority of businesses. But you can then connect different apps to your accounting software that will allow you to get more efficiencies from the software, making the process easier again. So we put a couple of examples on the screen there. So one, you could pull through sales figures. Now, where might that be from? If you sell online, you could directly pull through sales figures from the e-commerce websites. If you're a hotelier or have a bed and breakfast, you could pull through your bookings from one of the many booking sites to get those sales figures straight into your accounting software. So you don't need to spend time downloading reports to enter the figures somewhere else or anything like that. If you work in construction, you may use some sort of construction app to create quotes and send quotes to your clients. You should be able to connect that to your accounting software as well, either to pull in the quote to easily generate the invoice to send to your customer, or if you invoice within that construction app, you could directly put in the invoice from there as well, get the sales figures in. And it says there, and many more. There's such a variety of apps available to connect. I think one of the software providers has over 700. This does get onto the more complicated side of things, and many of you probably wouldn't need to consider using any apps. One other app I did want to highlight though is a payment collections. So making sure your customers can pay you. So you can sign up with one of the payment providers, payment solution providers, and what they'll then be able to do is when you generate an invoice, you'll send the invoice through the accounting software to your client, and you will then have a pay now button on the invoice. And so your customer could then hit pay now on the invoice when they receive it and enter their payment details, and you get paid. Far more user-friendly, easier for the customer to pay than if you were to put bank details on the bottom of the invoice. One other side to the apps sort of space is the scanning technology. Now, again, this came out around 2010 time, first sort of attempts at this, but again, it's come on massively since then. And essentially what that means is you'll receive a purchase invoice, or you'll buy something, you'll get a receipt. And typically you'd need to then go to your accounting software, enter all the details, key everything in to record that invoice in your software. What you can do now is, using a smartphone or a scanner, you can take a photo of the invoice in a certain app. And what will happen, all the key information is extracted from that invoice. And you can then push that across into your accounting system, which records the transaction in there. So no data entry. You don't need to keep the copy of the paper invoice then, because you've got a digital copy stored. You can access the digital copy within your accounting software or within one of the other apps that will do this. And it's there to make everyone's lives a lot easier, really. We've put on the last point, it is available in some software, so it is available in some of the cloud accounting software at the moment, but most of the software providers have only just started to move into this, this type of automation. And you do get add-on apps that at the moment do the job in a far better way. They have a lot more functionality to them. So it's a real time saving there, and again, helps you keep everything, helps you keep your records up to date. So that's great. You've got all your transactions recorded in the most efficient way. They're all there within your software, real time, and what that allows you to do is report in real time. So all accounting software has reporting modules built in. And that means whenever you need to, you can go in there and you can run certain reports to enable you to understand your business finances better. So it could just be a profit and loss report for last month, but you could delve a lot deeper than that. And Having access to that information when you want it means you're able to better plan and make decisions in your business. I think making decisions based on gut feel, well, as recent events have shown us, may well become a thing of the past, and you may well need that deeper insight into your finances.
Yeah, and decision making at the moment, I think, is particularly difficult, isn't it? Because everything is happening around us. We're in unusual times, but it starts with that good information, doesn't it, really, in terms of planning in the right way?
Yeah, yeah. So moving on to the next point, yeah, better oversight of upcoming payments. So traditionally, you might look at your bank balance and think, great, I've got this much money, I can go and do what I want. But you might have a VAT bill coming up in the next month or so. And really, you should be setting some of that money aside, ready to pay your VAT bill when you need to. So because you're keeping everything up to date in real time, at any point during your VAT quarter, you could have a look at your VAT liability account. Okay, so and you'll see how much VAT at that point in time you may need to pay to HMRC. So you can set that aside in your mind, in your bank account, so you don't go overspending. And it says, yeah, there's various built-in reports available. They are more than just a profit and loss and balance sheet. You can delve right into the fine detail to see reports. It might be by project. If you're more a project-based business, you can see reports by customer, by different locations. You can easily run, say, debtor and creditor reports to see at any point in time who owes you money and who you owe money to. So the real value of having the real-time data in there is in the reporting and the insights you get out of that. Now, right at the bottom there, we put short-term cash flow forecasting with a caution on it. Now, with recent events, all the software providers were suddenly rushing to add some sort of cash flow forecasting module to their online accounting solutions. But at the moment, these give limited oversight. They'll show you generally the next 30 days, what the software thinks your cash position may be and how your cash may move over that time. But that's purely based on invoices that are outstanding in the system at the point in time you look at that cash flow forecast. Now, you can add extra transactions in if you want, but to maintain that on a regular basis, based on current functionality, it's going to be quite time consuming. Now, really, it does give you a good insight and it can highlight things that may be of concern. But of course, if cash flow is a concern, you're going to need to speak to your accountant and get some more advice there and probably draw up a proper cash flow forecast so you fully understand the position. So that's what we consider to be some of the key features where you can gain efficiencies, where you can automate some traditionally manual tasks to save time and make your life a bit easier. There are some sort of admin points we want to make that, yeah, are also key benefits of the cloud accounting solutions. So firstly, cloud accounting software, maintaining your bookkeeping this way will be making Tax Digital compliant. So you can get ahead of the curve if you're not already using cloud accounting software. You can start implementing it in your business now, and then you're not going to be panicking at the last minute, rushing around trying to work out what you need to do. You'll sleep easily because you know you're already compliant. As we said before, you can access these cloud accounting packages from anywhere and through mobile apps. And one of the joys of that, if you're out working at a customer's premises and you finish the job, you want to send them an invoice, you don't have to wait until you get back home or get back to your laptop to be able to do that. You can just send the invoice there and then on the mobile app using one of those payment collection apps as well. Your customer, while you're there, will be able to say pay now, and you'd be able to leave the premises knowing you've invoiced them, you've been paid, the job's all done and dusted. We've got there no large upfront cost. In fact, generally, the upfront cost is very minimal because most of these cloud accounting packages are charged through monthly subscriptions. So rather than paying a big upfront fee, in fact, most of them actually give free trials, so you can try the software for 14 days or so to decide whether you want to actually sign up for it. And then when you do sign up, the monthly subscriptions for the functionality they give you and compared to the traditional accounting software are very well priced, really. A lot of the software providers will also try and incentivize you by giving you discounts to sign up with them as well. Software is continuously updated and improved, and because it's not hosted on your computer, it's not installed on your computer, that means it all happens in the background. So you don't need to do anything, new features will get introduced, and they'll all be there ready waiting for you when you next log in. So you save time there. Software support is available more often than not within the app itself. That does depend on software provider, but a number of them do have 24 hours a day software support available using one of the chat boxes you see on a lot of websites these days. You can give your accountant access if you want to. They would have their own login and they would access it as an accountant. Again, referring to recent events, this can have real benefits, because if you're not a fan of video calling and want to talk over the phone, both you and the accountant can be logged in at the same time, looking at the figures at the same time, so you can both be happy you're discussing the same thing and can both get proper understanding of your business finances. And you can set up multiple users within a lot of this software. Every user would have their own login, and you could manage their access level. So if you had someone working for you who only dealt with raising sales invoices and chasing for payment, you could set it up so they would only be able to access those areas of the software, so they don't have full oversight over your whole business. So having talked through the benefits, what does the workflow actually look like? So thrown a fair bit of jargon at you, but I think it's useful to set it out in the form of a diagram so you can visually see what it would look like. So on the left-hand side, we have our, say, traditional inputs that we need to enter into our accounting software or give to our accountant. So we've got our purchase invoices and receipts. So what we're going to do with them is we're going to scan them and take a photo or take a photograph of them, and the data will be extracted. We won't have to do any more than that, and we can then just push it across into our accounting software to record the transactions in there. We then have our bank statements, and we're going to pull all those transactions in using a bank feed. And we will have to quickly review them in our accounting software, but it's very quick and easy to review, match them to invoices, or just add them as expenses. And that will pull all those through into the accounting software. Finally, we have our sales invoices. Not everyone will raise sales invoices, of course. It might be the Z readings from the till at the end of the day, but we can record them in software, or we could use apps to pull these figures into the software directly. So that records all our sales transactions. So they're all the main things that generally we need to record in our accounting software. We then can have our accountant have a bit of input into it. They make a couple of adjustments. But once they've done that, we've then got our output on the right-hand side. So our cloud accounting software can help us in preparing our VAT returns, and we can submit them to HMRC through the software, which is compliant for Making Tax Digital again. We can get access to those management reports that we talked about as and when we want to. And we have got cash flow forecasting on there. So again, you get limited oversight within the software itself, but it makes producing a cash flow forecast far more accessible. So if you like the sound of that and you're interested, how can you get started if you haven't started already? Well, there's a few things you need to consider, and it's not necessarily an easy choice to make about which software route you want to go down. But first, we say think about what you need. What do you need the software to do, and what do you want it to do? You're going to have needs and wants. The needs are the must-haves, and the wants are those that are optional. Some of the software options out there, because there are quite a few to choose from, some of them will naturally be a better fit for your business than others. So once you've worked out what you need and what you want, you need to look into the software that's available. You're going to be looking at what features that software has, how those features suit your business. And it's not necessarily the easiest comparison to make, yeah, you'll look at the key features anyway and how they suit your needs. You'll then need to look at the different subscription levels. So every software provider has different subscription levels, adding a further level of complication to making the choice. The different subscription levels, some of them you get more functionality within the software as you move up through the levels. Some of them will give more users, so you can sign up more users to the software, and some are a combination of the two of those. So you need to select the correct subscription level for your business too. Of course, cost is going to come into it as well. You might have two very comparable pieces of software. One will most likely be slightly cheaper than the other. So that may factor into your decision. And otherwise, you want to do a little bit of research, see what the software looks like, watch videos. You can get access to some short videos of people processing things on the software. Which one do you generally prefer the look and feel of? For a lot of small businesses, some of the more advanced features you would never touch anyway. So it could be as simple as just which do you prefer. The final point on there is quite an important one, I think, to get advice from your accountant. Your accountant will know your business, they'll know what software options are out there, and they're going to be able to make a good recommendation about what online accounting software will suit your business best, and potentially what you might find easier to use as well as a non-accountant. So they'll make you a recommendation. If you purchase the software through your accountant, there is the potential there that you might get a saving against going direct to the software providers. That's not always the case, but certainly a number of accountants do partner with the software providers, so they're able to sign you up to the software at better rates. Finally, your accountant will help you set up the software correctly, and they will be able to give you the initial training you need and support you as you're working through getting used to the software and trying to get the efficiencies out of it.
Should we put this into a context, I guess, of TaxAssist and how we can help you, James?
Yeah.
Just to wrap that up. So there's a number of things accountants can do to help you through this, as James has talked about. Yes, there's some great automation, there's some great features there. It creates other ways for you to work with your accountant to try and help you in terms of setup and running your accounting systems thereafter. So what can we do? Well, we can offer you a free, no obligation consultation to start with if you're not an existing TaxAssist client. If you are an existing client, then obviously you can talk to your accountant as you need to. But we can then talk you through how it can work and how it can help you. And as James has said, we can recommend a solution based on your needs. Now, for those clients out there, we will understand those clients and we can help direct because we do understand their needs. But we can look at a business that's new to us relatively quickly and understand what you might need and the solutions we offer. And we give access to the main providers in the market. So in terms of accounting software, cloud accounting software, and actually some of the scanning software you've talked about, we've got relationships with all of the main providers, so we can recommend a solution that we understand that's based around your needs. We can then help you with setup, we can help you with initial training and ongoing support, or, and this is a really important point, we can do it all for you. Yes, this software does help you. As business owners, as individuals, it will help you. And it will save you time compared to those traditional options. I think it's important to point out that the software can only do so much. It will streamline for you, but it will still take an amount of time to deal with. And for some, that won't be the right answer. There is still that priority around running your business and focusing on your business, particularly at the moment. So we can, if you choose to, do it all for you. So we can give you the tools to help. We can train you and support you in terms of how they're used, but we can then do the bookkeeping, the reporting, the forecasting, and the support and advice you need all around that streamlined software package that we can help you with. So this actually opens up a lot more opportunity for you as business owners in terms of how you can, yes, run your business, but how you can work with your accountant to get them to really help you. And we at TaxAssist spend a lot of time supporting and understanding how we can work with our businesses. So I think when you talk through this initial consultation, or with your existing accountant, they can set up lots of different ways that will help you streamline and understand what's happening on a day-to-day basis. So, quick summary before we answer some questions, and we'll see if there are any questions coming through. Why look at online accounting? How can it help you? So, as I think James and I have talked about in terms of where we are and where we can go, it's certainly easy to use. It will certainly streamline your day-to-day accounting needs and will be much simpler. It will save you time. Yes, there's still some work involved in running any accounting system, but it will certainly save time compared to a traditional package, and it will help you get the financial information you want when you want it. That real-time point that James has made is really important, and I mentioned it earlier. This isn't about retrospective information where you've been, it's about where your business is now. It will be compliant with MTD, another important point, because the world is changing and HMRC will be putting ever more demand onto small businesses. And there is support out there. Yes, the software providers have access to support lines, but your accountant, and particularly your TaxAssist accountant, will understand these solutions and will be able to help you as and when you need it. So that's a quick overview of what it can do and how it can help. Let's just have a quick talk about some of the questions coming in. So there's a question in there from a Sally, and we'll try and keep this generally very generic. If we can just go up a little bit. So, Sally, if everything is kept up to date through the year end, does that mean production of year-end accounts is simpler or cheaper, or do most charge a flat fee? Well, we at TaxAssist charge a fixed fee. We don't believe in fee surprises. We charge a fixed fee, which we will talk to you up front about. Yes, there are elements of this that can simplify through the year. So in some cases, yes, it can make the year-end process more straightforward, but it depends on the information that comes into that year-end process. So it's important to talk to your accountant about how that can help you. And does it work for income tax, self-assessment, or just VAT? Your accounts will support all of those things. So it will help you from your personal tax perspective, and it will help you around your VAT compliance piece, as well as your corporation tax requirements if you're a company. The point I was making earlier around just VAT was really around making tax digital and the requirement to have compliance software. It's just for that registered business at the moment, but it will be coming in for all individuals down the line. James, you want to take the next point from Sally?
Yeah, will making tax digital apply to sole traders providing consultancy advice services? How would it work? No separation between my personal and work account. Okay, so on the first point there, the making tax digital applying to sole traders providing consultancy and advice services. At the moment, if you're not VAT registered, making tax digital does not apply to you right now, but the government did very recently release more in terms of their timeframes, in terms of bringing it in for anyone who files a self-assessment tax return with a turnover of over £10,000, I believe it was. And that's, I believe they're expecting it at the moment, indicating it will come in about 3 years' time. So it will apply in time to sole traders, but at the moment it doesn't. But that's not to say you shouldn't try and get ahead of the game so you're prepared when it does come in.
Okay, thanks. And there's a question from Sarah that we might be able to answer as well, James.
Yeah, we quite often have purchase invoices that need to be split between 2 or more categories. Can this easily be done on the cloud accounting system? Yes, it can. If you use one of the invoice scanning apps, you can easily break down the invoices between the different line items there. There's various different ways you may be able to do it, and yeah, I won't be able to go into all of them now, but you can also set up rules that will automatically split those transactions for you within the cloud accounting system.
Okay, thanks, James. So I don't think there are any further questions, but look at it. So we'll call it a day there. Just wrapping up in terms of next steps, if you are an existing TaxAssist client and you are interested in this and you've only just started the process of looking at it perhaps, please do talk to your local accountant and they'll happily help you and support you in this transition. And if you are out there and you're not a current TaxAssist client and you do need some advice, then please do contact us. I think we've got a slide with some contact details that we can move on to. We are open for business, and we have been throughout the COVID crisis, actually. So you can contact us through our website, and we do offer free telephone and video consultations for new clients. We can meet online. At the moment, that's really important. And as I said earlier, we do offer fixed fees agreed in advance for any work we do, no fee surprises. So do look at our website, www.taxassist.co.uk, for more information. But we hope this has given you a useful insight into how this can help you. We are in challenging times, but the business world will move on, and it's important that business owners do understand their businesses and how they're performing, hence us covering this topic. So I'll say thank you on behalf of James and myself for joining us. Please do stay safe, and we hope to see you at one of our future webinars. Thank you.
Thank you.